I'm continuing my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a little bit as I move along. Right now, I am still in the first book of Samuel, and this is chapter 26. David again spares Saul's life. He again refuses to stretch forth his hand against the Lord's anointed. Saul and David separate. And the Ziphites came unto Saul to Gibeah, saying, Doth not David hide himself in the hill of Hachilah, which is before Jeshimon? Then Saul arose and went down to the wilderness of Ziph, having 3,000 chosen men of Israel with him to seek David in the wilderness of Ziph. And Saul pitched in the hill of Hachilah, which is before Jeshimon, by the way. But David abode in the wilderness, and he saw that Saul came after him into the wilderness. David therefore sent out spies, and understood that Saul was come in very deed. So this sounds a lot like the last time. It was the Ziphites were the ones last time that told him to come out and get David. And so he's coming out again to get David. He must have put down the Philistines already. And this is just starting another cat and mouse chase. David's sending out his spies to see, making sure that it is Saul coming. And Saul is going out after him. So here we go. Verse 5. And David arose and came to the place where Saul had pitched, and David beheld the place where Saul lay, and Abner, the son of Ner, the captain of his host. And Saul lay in the trench, and the people pitched round about him. Then answered David and said to Ahimelech the Hittite, and to Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, brother to Joab, saying, Who will go down with me to Saul to the camp? And Abishai said, I will go down with thee. So David and Abishai came to the people by night, and behold, Saul lay sleeping within the trench, and his spear stuck in the ground at his bolster. But Abner and the people lay round about him. Okay, so in other words, David sneaking into Saul's camp. Now, these guys, people, Zeruiah, that is, I believe, David's sister. And so Abishai and Joab are David's nephews. Now, we don't know exactly how old his sister is, but we can assume that his nephews are younger than he is. How much younger, we don't know. They are probably in their late teens, early 20s, and David is probably in his mid to late 20s. That's what I'm thinking. Okay. So David and his nephew Abishai sneak into the camp. Verse 8. Then said Abishai to David, God hath delivered thine enemy into thine hand this day. Now therefore let me smite him, I pray thee, with the spear, even to the earth at once, and I will not smite him the second time. And David said to Abishai, Destroy him not. For who can stretch forth his hand against the Lord's anointed and be guiltless? David said furthermore, As the Lord liveth, the Lord shall smite him, or his day shall come to die. Or he shall descend into battle and perish. The Lord forbid that I should stretch forth mine hand against the Lord's anointed. But I pray thee, take thou now the spear that is at his bolster, and the cruse of water, and let us go. So David took the spear and the cruse of water from Saul's bolster, and they gat them away, and no man saw it, nor knew it, neither awaked, for they were all asleep, because a deep sleep from the Lord was fallen upon them. Now that sounds very reminiscent of what happened in the Book of Mormon with the people of Alma, the people of Alma. God put the Lamanites in a deep sleep so they could escape. This time we have God putting Saul and his men into a deep sleep so that David could sneak in. So it's almost God is setting up so that David could kill Saul. And at this point, Saul has been hunting David for so long that I think David would be justified. But David doesn't even want to risk it. He says, no, this is God's anointed. Can any man smite God's anointed and be guiltless? So maybe if it was just some schmuck on the street trying to kill me, I'd probably smite him. But not the king. Not the king that God has anointed. And I like that. But he does take the spear and the cruse of water. So here we go again. Verse 13. And David went over to the other side and stood on the top of an hill afar off, a great space being between them. And David cried to the people and to Abner the son of Ner, saying, Answerest thou not, Abner? Then Abner answered and said, Who art thou that criest to the king? And David said to Abner, Art not thou a valiant man? And who is like to thee in Israel? Wherefore then hast thou not kept thy lord the king? For there came one of the people in to destroy the king thy lord. This thing is not good that thou hast done. As the Lord liveth, ye are worthy to die, because ye have not kept your master, the Lord's anointed. And now see where the king's spear is, and the cruse of water that was at his bolster. And Saul knew David's voice, and said, Is this thy voice, my son David? And David said, It is my voice, my lord king. And he said, Wherefore doth my lord thus pursue after his servant? For what have I done? Or what evil is in mine hand? Now therefore I pray thee, let my lord the king hear the words of his servant. If the Lord have stirred thee up against me, let him accept an offering. But if they be the children of men, cursed be they before the Lord. For they have driven me out this day from abiding in the inheritance of the Lord, saying, Go serve other gods. Now therefore, let not my blood fall to the earth before the face of the Lord. For the king of Israel is come out to seek a flea, as when one doth hunt a partridge in the mountains. Now, I like that too. David starts yelling at the army that's all asleep. They start waking up, and he starts kind of taunting them. Hey, guys, wake up, you missed it. Hey, Abner, is that you? Aren't you supposed to be protecting the king? Huh? You're not doing a very good job of it. We snuck in there and stole his spear right under your nose. We could have killed him any moment. And then it's Saul that first recognizes David's voice, which again tells you that Saul, the relationship of Saul and David before he became jealous of him, they did like each other. And he remembers David's voice singing to him. That calming voice of David. And David again says, How is it? What are you chasing me? Why are you trying to kill me? What have I done? If God told you to kill me, fine. We're good. Kill me. But if it's just coming from men, if it is your thought, then God will take my vengeance. Let us finish this out. Verse 21. Then said Saul, I have sinned. Return, my son David, for I will no more do thee harm, because my soul was precious in thine eyes this day. Behold, I have played the fool, and have erred exceedingly. And David answered and said, Behold the king's spear, and let one of the young men come over and fetch it. The Lord render to every man his righteousness and his faithfulness. For the Lord delivered thee into my hand today, but I would not stretch forth mine hand against the Lord's anointed. And behold, as thy life was much set by this day in mine eyes, so let my life be much set by in the eyes of the Lord, and let him deliver me out of all tribulation. Then Saul said to David, Blessed be thou, my son David. Thou shalt both do great things, and also shalt still prevail. So David went on his way, and Saul returned to his place. So once again, Saul is admitting his fault. And he invites David to come back to the palace, saying, I'm not going to try and kill you anymore. You're right. But David doesn't go back. David's not trusting Saul. Although I do think that Saul does keep his word on this one. Although we'll see in the next few chapters. I don't think it's very long because he does die soon. But I do think he actually does kind of keep his word after this one. He no longer chases David. But David doesn't really trust him. So we'll get into that later. The one last thing I wanted to mention here, I did like this wording here. When David was in the camp with Abishai, and Abishai said, "Let me smite him to the earth at once, and I will not smite him a second time," saying, "I'm good enough that I can kill him in one hit." But I like David. David says, "Who can stretch for?" David said, furthermore, "As the Lord liveth, the Lord shall smite him, or his day shall come to die, or he shall descend into battle and perish." But what does this mean? His day shall come to die. That means he will die of old age. Battle will come on him, and he will perish in battle, or God will smite him. So, disease, old age, or battle. One of those three things will kill Saul in the end, and I can wait. I don't need to kill him myself. Let God decide how he dies. I like that. I like that he has all three of those in there. So, pick it up in 27. We'll see if Saul actually does honor this last vow not to chase David anymore.